Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
I wish my fucking foot would go right through your skull.
Your hands? That's like a baby's toy.
I can't help but be racist. It's true.
No offense, David Jaffe, but that's bullshit.
Well, my tiny human friends, welcome to Gabbin' and Games. That is Daniel Tidwell doing his version of the metal rock guitar cover of Metal Gear Solid main theme song. Let me chew out the gum. Spit it out. Yeah, spit it out, not chew it out. I just swallowed it. Fuck it. Welcome to the show. Welcome to your Monday. This is Gabbin' and Games for December. No, it's December. I don't fucking know. Whatever. It's October, some such. October 21st, man. There's a lot coming out lately. We got the goddamn Call of Duty coming out pretty soon, which I'm excited about. That'll be out this Friday. Call of Duty Black Ops 6. I've become a big fan. We'll be talking briefly about that a little bit later today on the show. Jaffe, says Billy Bones, a short clip of young you discussing game making went viral. I think that was from our very own God of War put that up, who's making the Splitfire game. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That is from the PlayStation Underground, the very first disc that they ever put out. If you remember the PS1 Underground, they had like a demo disc and interviews. And they had me as one of the first interviews, which was a lot of fun to do. And I will tell you what I remember about that day is I went out with the crew to shoot in some production office, and it was the first time that I had ever seen South Park, because this is when the VHS of the original test South Park, before it was on any TV, was kind of making its way around the industry. And definitely the production company in San Francisco where we shot that had gotten it. And it was the one about Brian Boitano and what would Brian Boitano do and all that stuff. And obviously, believe it or not, it was rougher than the current South Park, like in terms of production value and whatnot. But man, we were spitting up Diet Cokes watching this thing. It was great. It was fucking great. But yeah, that clip where they interviewed me about game design, which, you know, we were doing Twisted Metal 2. Here's what is weird about that clip. I'll say, on one hand, it's goofy because I'm so young and I don't know anything and I'm giving advice. I mean, I was answering questions, but I guess, if you've made a couple of games with great teams, better to, you have more advice than someone who hasn't. But at the same time, looking back at it, I'm like, nah, I still agree with pretty much all the stuff I was saying in that clip. So I don't, one of the things I remember saying and feeling kind of stupid about through the years was I was talking about gameplay and people who were very much about technology first and graphics first. And even then, I remember the quote was, a good game designer should be able to design a fun game with a coconut and a crayon, right? And I remember thinking that was so stupid and so arrogant, but now with history in the rear view a little bit with my game design career, I don't think I was ever a good enough game designer to design a great game with a coconut and coconut tree, with a coconut and a crayon, but I still believe it. I think it's still accurate. A really great game designer should be able to take whatever's lying around and MacGyver something fun out of it. And I believe that. I think that's absolutely true. So it's a fun clip. I enjoyed watching it. You think I say and now. I said it a lot more back then when I wasn't even cognizant of it. Welcome to Gabbin' and Games, folks. We're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff today. We're going to be talking about some news that broke over the weekend about Naughty Dog's new game that actually has me very, very, very excited. So we'll be getting to that a little bit later in the show. We will be going through Kotaku, believe it or not. I know nobody loves the Kotaku, but Kotaku put out a list of the top 20 horror games of all time just in time for the Halloween. So, we got that coming up, plus a lot of good news and shooting the shit with you guys. I appreciate you being here. Members, thank you, of course, for being here and supporting the show. While you're here and your day is just getting started, won't you consider liking the show? If you like it, of course. If you hate it, go fuck yourself. Or send me a message what I could be doing better. And won't you consider subscribing? And won't you consider a membership? Why would I be a member of your stupid show, Jaffe? Well, here's one reason. Coming up, when is it coming up? It's coming up, where did it go? There it is. It's coming up this Thursday, 1 o'clock. Cult Calypso members, God of War members, and mods will be able to hook up zing, with your Papa Jaffe over on the Discord. We're going to have lunch with Jaffe. Obviously, all members will get access to that video when it's done. But if you want to shoot the shit, hang out live, Cult Calypso or above is the place to be. That's available to you as a member. Also, don't forget, the newest episode of Brain on Games dropped this weekend. It'll be behind a paywall for a few more days. We cover a lot about, the Brain on Games is where I get a little bit more heady with game design philosophy and, looking at some games and studying them and taking them apart and all the shit I love to do about that stuff. That is going into its third or fourth episode right now. We deal with Zelda. We deal with horror games. Could horror games be better or more interesting if they were dealing with puzzles in the way that Zelda does it these days, where it's not so much here is a one and done solution, but there's more freedom to sort of think your way through a lot of these puzzles, like Silent Hill 2. Would that be interesting if it had some of the Zelda-esque philosophy of puzzle design? That's what Brain on Games is mostly about this week. And there's a new one coming up pretty soon where I dive deep into a bunch of the Steam Next Fest demos and sort of what worked and what didn't work. So that's for members of all tiers. That's available for you right now. Necro says, hey, Jaffe, hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. Having a great day. Had a great weekend. What did I do? I watched Smile with my kid last night. Calvin and I, he and I are the ones in the family that love the horror. And so we said, well, let's watch a horror movie tonight. Made some popcorn on the stove, put some Flavacol in it. Look it up. And, we watched Smile. Now, what I will tell you about Smile is neither of us got the big deal. It was fine. It was sort of a solid, B-level movie at best. It was a huge success. The sequel came out this week. It was number 1 at the box office. Smile 2. Keep smiling. I added the keep smiling. Smile 2 came out at the box office this weekend. I didn't get the big deal about Smile, nor did Calvin. We were both like, maybe it's because the people in it were so stupid and they weren't a bunch of teenagers where you're like, oh, they're stupid teens going into a murderer's house. It was like your protagonist in that motion picture show was a psychologist. And it's like, what's the matter with you? You don't understand what's happening to you? Figure this shit out. It's really stupid. I didn't care for it. But, we had a good weekend. Watched that. I played a lot of this gem of a game, Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Excuse me, that was gross. I don't care. Fuck you. Like you've never sucked your own snot up and then back down your throat. Don't pretend. Shut up. Don't pretend. Bukaki Drive-By says Jaffe used to make games. Now he just sits around with his ass up his ass. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but it sounds positively filthy, so I'm super into it. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which I like a lot. It is very interesting. I don't love 3D Zelda games. They're too open for me. They're much, in my opinion, better open world games, but I've always loved the 2.5D or the 2D Zelda games. This one so far does not disappoint. It is incredibly free with how you can solve puzzles, but it still keeps you on a pretty interesting narrative track or a exploration track and progressive track. I dig it. I don't think it's going to do that well. It looks like a preschool game. It looks like a game made for a bunch of little preschool kids. And I don't mind the Wind Waker style, but this is dumb. This is not a game for 6-year-old girls, but it looks like it's a game for 6-year-old girls. And nothing wrong with 6-year-old girls. I just don't think there's a lot of them, that play a lot of Zelda games, that are pretty smart games, which is what Echoes of Wisdom is. So I think that's bizarre, even though I understand it's the style, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty stupid. But it's a great game. It's a great fucking game, and I hope it gets a lot of recognition towards the end of the year as we start heading into that particular Game of the Year, Game Awards season, blah, blah, blah. You know what I got? Oh my God. Yeah, I got a sexual transmitted disease. No, I did. I'll tell you in a minute. I want to show you what I got in the mail. Jaffe, who's your most favorite dev studios besides Blue Box? Says Real Actor. I mean, right now I've converted back to my love of Bloober Team, because anybody who follows the channel on a semi-regular basis knows that I loved Layers of Fear. Like I've always listed that as one of my favorite horror games of all time, still up there. And then they kind of fell off for me. We'll talk a little bit about them today, but they kind of fell off for me. But Silent Hill 2 remake is the best game of the year, probably, at least for me. It is delightful. It is delicious. It is, I got nothing more with a D, but the point is it's wonderful. And so I'm excited. Their trailer for their new game, Chronos, looks really good. So they're up there at this point. And I really like Way Forward. They're pretty much up at the top for me as well. They do a lot of great 2D style games. Okay, have I ever heard of Song of Horror? A game called Song of Horror. I have not, but since you're here and since you asked so nicely, why don't we look it up? Game. Song of Horror. Fear the Present. No. I don't even know anything about it, but I'll pick it up and I'll play it. I appreciate the recommend. That looks interesting. We got some horror conversation coming up later today. I want to show you what I got in the mail. Can I tell you what I got in the mail? Oh my goodness gracious. I picked up, and this I even forgot because I went out to the mail the other day and I saw this and I'm like, what the fuck is that? I don't remember ordering anything. But I ordered it, must have ordered it, I don't know, a month ago. It just took forever to get here. It's the Bloodborne full on, it's like, I don't know, 400 pages, kind of strategy guide, but I don't care about strategy guides, but, I picked it up because there's an interview, with the director Miyazaki. I picked it up because there's just beautiful fucking art. I picked it up because I still don't really understand a lot of the Souls games, even though Elden's my favorite, and I did finish Bloodborne, and I loved it. In the end, I still don't really fully understand how everything works, and I'm like, you know what? I believe very much that a game's job is to tell you how to play it, it's kind of ridiculous that you need a strategy guide, but I'm so bought in to the Souls games and the From Software games specifically that I'm like, you know what? I want to learn this. I want to really figure it out. I'm tired of being like, I don't understand how weapon scales work and all this shit. And then it's just a fucking gorgeous, it's just a fucking gorgeous book. Let me show you the section with all the monsters and the weapons. I mean, and it gives you, you know, not tons of lore, but it gives you, you know, enough that you can really dig, you know, diving in. This is probably my favorite intellectual property of all video games ever. You know, it's just so interesting and so neat looking and so cool that I'm super in. Look at this, Keeper of the Old Gods. Come on now. I mean, look how fucking thick this. I mean, you could kill somebody with this fucking thing. But I love it. That came. Lamp says, do you think FromSoft is lazy when it comes to storytelling? No, I don't. But I think they are. Oh, I love how they smell too, those books. Absolutely. Where can you buy it and get off Amazon? It's like $53. It's about 12%, 13% discount right now. I don't think, I mean, I don't know if those guys are lazy or not. I don't imagine they are. They don't seem like a lazy studio. I like the way they tell stories in their games. I understand that something like, you know, a God of War or Silent Hill or a Last of Us is much more traditional in its storytelling structure. But the idea of kind of saying, look, we're not going to bore the fuck out of you with these cutscenes. You are let loose in the world and you can figure it out and you can deduce the lore. I don't think that's one size fits all for every game, but I certainly think for Bloodborne and I certainly think for Elden Ring, that is one of the reasons that those games for me are so compelling. So I'm a fan, man. Listen to this. You know who made, you know who created this right here? Yeah, that's old Trey Trimble, one of the most talented guys on the internet. He just dropped a super chat. Didn't need to do. Thank you, buddy. He says, just saying love you, Jaffe. I love you back, buddy. I'm still here. Been busy. Bought a house with the wife. Good for you. Getting back to normal. Remember the 2001 horror movie Joyride? Cheesy, but the idea is scary. Is Joyride the one with Lily Soboleski, who was in Never Been Kissed with Drew Barrymore, where she played the DNA molecule? I think she was. I think that's what that movie was. And I think like Ryan Felipe or one of those guys or the guy who died from Fast and Furious was in it. Yeah, I saw it. I saw it ages ago. But or is Joyride the one with C. Thomas Howell, where at the end they take his girlfriend and they tie her to a car, and the bumper of the end of one car and the fender or the bumper of the semi truck and the fender of the that might have been Hitchhiker. And then at the end they like basically draw and quarter this poor woman, but with cars. Man, that was I get Joyride mixed up sometimes with that motion picture, which I think is called with Rutger Hauer. I think it's called The Hitcher or Hitchhiker or something like that. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that Joyride was written by J.J. Abrams. Interesting. Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, thank you, buddy. Good to see you. Glad things are going well. And I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate all the beautiful art you've made for our show over the years. And I'm glad. Congrats on the house, man. What people should factor into a house cost, which they never do, I wish I would have, is not just the cost of the house. It's not just the cost of property tax. It's not even just the cost of maintenance. If you have ADD like I do, I should have factored in the cost of literally high. I didn't have a very big house when I had a house. It was like 4 bedrooms. You know, it was, you know, a normal house for, you know, wife, kids, couple kids, dog. But I should have factored in the cost of hiring somebody to fucking run it like a goddamn butler, because I have the ADD and everything was falling apart. I just never got around to fixing it because it was boring to my brain. All right, let's move on. What do we got going on, kids and cadetties? Let me get a sip of the bubbly and then we will move on to some topics I want to share with you guys. Okay, where are we at? But I'll check this out. Song of Horror, complete edition. All right, I'll give it a look, man. Okay. Like I said, we got Naughty Dog news coming up next. I do want to just give you guys an answer for this really quickly. A couple of weeks, like last weekend, I forgot to get back to you. I said, what do you think this picture has to do with Twisted Metal? And it is a picture of, this is the Las Vegas dive, but the very first one was in Los Angeles. It was called LA Dive. It was a restaurant, themed restaurant created by Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg. And you would go in and it would all be, you know, it's submarine themed, and you would go in and the food was like, oh, you know, a French fry torpedo. I don't fucking know. And it looked like you were in a submarine, and every 20 minutes or so, the submarine would actually, you know, air quotes, submerge, and through the portholes, whatever they're called, you know, it would all be like 20,000 leagues under the sea at Disneyland. It would all, the bubbles would come up and fish and mermaids would swim around and stuff. And it, you know, it was in business for a year and it went out of business. This is back when Planet Hollywood and all that shit was, everybody had to have a theme restaurant. Anyway, the point is, I go to lunch here in October, could be, I don't know when it was, whenever Twisted Metal and Warhawk came out, right? Me and Mike Yum, who was the Sony designer for the Warhawk game and Jet Moto, and Felice Standifer, who was the producer for both of them for Sony, we go to lunch at Century City LA Dive. And we knew the games were out that week, but we didn't know when they were coming out. And there was a Babbage's right across from LA Dive. And we walked in, and it was the first time, because I had seen Mickey Maney in the store, but it was just like, you know, it was Genesis and Sega, and it was kind of a nightmare of a production. But it was the first time we really saw an IP that we had been there from the beginning on shelves and in glass cases. And it was the coolest fucking thing. And over time, that kind of faded a little bit. You know, you know, it was still cool to see your games on a magazine and a cover, and then you walk into the store when the store still sold magazines and shit. But I remember later on, it was more like, I remember I would go into GameStop with my daughter, and she would pick up my games on the shelf, and she would be like, oh, you know, very loud, because I guess she was proud and she wanted some of the whatever cachet seemed to come from this. She would be like, oh, is this your game, Dad? And I would get so embarrassed, not because I love that she was proud of her dad and all that shit, but it was just like, you know, I never really, I kind of ignored it. But then the other day we were driving, fuck you people in the chat, like, well, get to the game news. I'll get to it when I want to get to it. Fuck you. So, but this is game news. This is history, you sons of bitches. One day I'll be long gone, and you'll be like, I'm glad Jaffe left those stories with me. He entrusted them to me. Or I could just sit here and talk about some shit I found that you're going to have a hard time finding, because let's just say it'll be on a stream this week regarding all the culture war shit that you guys seem to love so much. There was a talk given a couple of days ago. No one's talking about it. It's not promoted. The comments are turned off. It's hard to find. I'll get to that, but not on this show. I got to spend a little more time thinking about what I want to say about it, because I'm tired of talking about the culture wars. But the point is, I'm driving with her the other day, Sarah, and she was telling me, we were just talking about her childhood and all this shit, and she said, like, going to GameStop and buying Skylanders figures was a real, like, that's one of those memories. I didn't even think about it. But she was like, that's one of her favorite childhood memories, is going to GameStop with me and buying Skylanders figures. And I was just like, oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. And look at this. So old Gimpy in the chat says, hey, I made a lot of those. I assume you mean you made the Skylanders figures. That is one of the coolest things about getting older and having done creative work, is you, even though you can't control it, even though you never really know the impact you're having, the fact that old Gimpy made a bunch of those fucking Skylanders figures, either digital or real, and that his contributions and his team's contributions provided for this person he never even knew. this sense of wonderful nostalgia and joy and I find that all the time now when people talk to me about the stuff we worked on. I just think that's the coolest thing. And you can't really appreciate that without perspective and that comes with just age and seeing the shit you put out in the world, good or bad, that had ramifications. Gimpy says, I worked on both. I did the toy sculpts and the game characters for Swap Force. Okay, we probably picked up some of those. I have one on my fridge right now. Like, I still kept it. I have two things sitting on top of the fridge. One is a giant Merida statue from Brave, and the other is a Skylanders figure that was really my favorite, right? Which was I don't even know the lore. So it's this guy who's got like a white face and a black hood and a spear, and he's sitting on some kind of chicken. It almost kind of feels like something from Bakshi's Wizards. I love that Skylanders figure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Colin Moriarty said in his recent Sacred Symbols podcast that he would love to play with toys again. Does he not know he can, and it will be normal if he has a kid? Look, I don't care about normal. I was talking to him and some other people on a show ages ago about that. I was sitting here at my desk, and I was like, it wasn't this particular figure, but I was like, I'm going to play with my toys. I'm not going to just display them. Here's the Hulk. I'm not going to display them. I'm just going to actually do what I did when I was a kid to see what that feels like. And I was sitting here making up little stories, and I'm like, you will suffer in hell. I don't know what I was doing. I used to put Han Solo in the icebox and pretend it was Hoth. But the point is, though, it's still kind of fun. And when I was playing D&D last weekend, I kind of felt like that. It feels like you're playing with toys again. It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. Okay, let's move on. What do we got? I felt like that guy in what's that motion picture? The Force Awakens, when Kylo Ren's like hitting himself when he gets shot, like the samurai do. I don't know why I did it. I don't know why I did it. Shut up. All right. I was going to show you this. This is also I'm not gonna play it right now, but this is, and I showed Calvin this, my kid, the other day, and he's like, "Oh, I've seen streamers play that." I had never heard about this. Came out about a year ago, called "Suck It Up" or "Suck Up," but because the episode of Brain on Games this week is, like I said, about freedom, and this is sort of the best I could find, where you play this vampire, and all the game is you walk around the suburbs and you go up to doors and you knock on the doors, and you use your microphone because they're using AI, and you try to convince them to invite you inside. And you can put on different costumes to sort of promote your bullshit story. And obviously, as vampire lore goes, when they invite you inside, then you can actually kill them and suck their blood. And when you suck their blood and you kill them, they lose all of their costume parts, so then you can wear those for other people's homes. It's actually quite fun. And I had it lined up to show you guys, but it's exactly like Let the Right One In. But I will definitely show you guys that. Blackjack, it's an interesting question, and there is there's a valid answer. It makes sense why a lot of people wouldn't know it, though. He says, where are the new IPs for kids today? Here's one right here. Gary's Mod, even though I know that's old, but I mean, my kids are now 19 and 21 or something. And yeah, the new toys for them are Minecraft and Fortnite and Gary's Mod and Suck Up and Jackbox Party and all of that stuff. So their stuff does not tend to be as produced, which I think is kind of cool. I think one of the nice things that YouTube did to that generation is lower expectations of production value and allow more people to get into the creating process, because not everyone can afford or is as talented to express their ideas at the level that someone super fucking talented can. And so I think that's awesome. So I actually think they have them, but people who read NeoGAF and go to IGN and watch shows like this, unless you have kids or you're just really researching this stuff, it's hard to find. You wouldn't know it's out there. Eric, as usual, I would expect you to not understand what I'm saying. He says, it's good that they expect low quality things. What did I say, Eric? What did I say? Okay. I want you to think about it. okay? Because let's assume for the moment you're serious, and you probably are given how intellectual you are, or lack thereof. But let's assume you're serious, okay? What have I been? What did I say? Okay, is the production value lower? Are we teaching them to expect low quality things in production value? Yes. What are they getting in return though? They're getting in return more creative ideas from people who never would have been able to create before because the standard of production was so high that you had a lot of gatekeeping people who were able to say yes to your idea, no to your idea. Okay. So what I'm telling you is they would argue, and I think they're right, that to them, the genuineness of the product is more compelling to them than some flashy, overproduced. Here's the best way to explain it for gamers, or at least for you guys, people who watch shows like this, okay? Because I talked to Colin about this. I'm not bagging on Kind of Funny or anything. I don't watch Kind of Funny enough to have much of an opinion at all. But I've watched enough to know that Colin and Last Stand Media shows are more genuine. People do them from their bedrooms. There's no fuss. There's no muss. There's very little production. And they do significantly better, from a Patreon standpoint at least, than Kind of Funny, which has a studio and there's a fog machine and a beautiful, expensive, massive video screen behind them and a beautiful desk, and they've got multiple cameras set up. And so ultimately, what you're talking about is quality of one thing in exchange for another. Now, is it best when you can get both? Perhaps. But we have millennia of experience showing that the people who have the money control the message. And it's nice to be seeing that is a shifting aspect to how entertainment gets created. So you can Blackjack says this is not a healthy mentality for the integrity of the art form. What's not healthy is your inability, Blackjack, to debate me. Because you simply saying this is not healthy for the integrity of the art form and giving no examples, that's just kind of like somebody saying, if I elect that person, the world will go to shit. It's like, okay, that means nothing to me. Explain to me how. Explain to me how. But you can't do it. You can't do it. Okay. Let's move forward. Let's move forward before I get really mad. All right, let's move forward. I will tell you this, fellas and Filettis. I played a bunch also, besides Zelda, I played a bunch of Steam Next Fest demos, which by the time you're watching this is over. That doesn't mean all the demos go away. It means most of them go away. But some of them that you've already downloaded, you can still play. Some of them, they just keep up there, and some are actually gone. But there is definitely some really interesting stuff. And like I said, I will be putting out a video later in the week for Brain on Games about the ones I played that I have something to say about. I'm not just going to review the ones I talked about. Who gives a shit? But there were enough really interesting games this time that I definitely want to talk about it. All right, Necro, good to see you, buddy. Did I finish Pumpkin Jack, Trey Trimble? Oh, hell yeah. I love that game. That guy just put out a new game that wasn't really for me. It's kind of like Ratchet and Clank wannabe, and it's well made, but that's one of the things I kind of saw that's problematic on a lot of these lower budget games, which is lean into the lower budget, fellas, because when you try to make something without the money and the resources that these folks have at the AAA level, but you try to follow the AAA trail of breadcrumbs that they've left, 95% of the time, it just comes off bad. And I think Pumpkin Jack, which I loved, but there weren't a lot of games out like it, and still aren't at the time. Then he's like, oh, I'll make an open world 3D platformer, which is fine, but it's pretty much trying to be Ratchet and Clank. And I'm like, not to kill an already dead meme, but you know, it's Ratchet and Clank at home. And it's like, why? What's the point? What's the point? But yeah, Pumpkin Jack is excellent. Arathizzle says, wait, what coming from the dude who reads old EGM magazines? Which is it? Traditional production value or a mountain of slop to filter through? It's neither, Arathizzle. It's neither. Because you're creating an argument that isn't mine. I didn't say traditional production value or a mountain of slop to filter through. I think filtering is now more important because there's less gatekeeping, but that doesn't mean that once you find your people online and your type of games that you love, that goes away, right? I mean, you know, deal with it. I mean, seriously, fucking deal with it, man. Okay. Oh, I agree. 1 Minute Gamer. I wasn't going to talk about that today, but the Precinct demo, which is so fucking weird, man. This is a game. Where is it? I played that, this weekend, the Precinct. This is a game that I played it twice, right? I rarely fucking play demos to completion, and this is one of the few, let me turn off the audio, that I actually played 2 different times. You know, that's how much I enjoyed it. It's so weird, this game, because it's, you know, first off, cops these days, rightly so, have unfortunately earned a bad reputation. Not that every cop deserves a bad reputation, but you know, one bad apple will spoil all the good apples and rot them all. So it's hard to look at cops as the heroes they were when I was a kid, although I know there are still many, many cops that are that. But this really is the fantasy of being a cop that I had when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And it's really weird because it does everything from let you get into shootouts and, as you saw, helicopter chases and car chases. And then other times you're just walking the beat and you're like giving people tickets for parking wrong. And there's like a story, very simple, told with like 2D images that pop up with text, very old school RPG style, about your dad, who was this much loved, revered cop, and you're the kid, and it's your first day on the force. And it's good. I agree with you, man. I very much enjoyed playing this. I thought it was a lot of fun. And again, I liked it so much. I played it twice, and I'll be picking it up when it comes out very, very soon. Okay. Interesting. Gaming Doppelganger, Ganger, that's an interesting way to say it. He says, the Precinct reminds me of old Grand Theft Auto mixed with Disco Elysium. Interesting. Yeah, I could see that. Okay. I want to show you something else, so let me go back for a second. So I played, the other thing I wanted to show you I played was this was recommended, I think, by Awesome Tatum. This was cool, man. This is called Bloodshed. But what it is it's Vampire Survivors, but it's first person. And it doesn't totally work as well as you want it to, but it does work incredibly well in some ways. So you don't have a fire button. It's exactly like Vampire Survivors. Every gun, every weapon has its own rate of fire, has its own mechanics. You can level them up and things like that. So you can make it fire faster, do more damage, or blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if this is going to have as many items to level up and utilize, but it's fun. Oh, I've played a medieval Soul Mike. It's great. One of my favorite shooters, boomer shooters. But this, even though it lacks, there's something about the top-down camera in Vampire Survivors and similar clones that really gives you're constantly making smart choices, or you're constantly making choices that are relevant and feel important. When you take that away, which you do in this perspective, there is something lost to the subgenre. But I do think they gain something when it comes to things like, you know, this gun is going to fire every 3 seconds. So can you get the gun aimed up so you get a headshot and kill the guy faster? Or you know you've got this thing on the upper right, which is like this rune that is charging up, and it'll drop this spell in a second. So you want to position yourself to wait for it to happen, and then boom, you get in a circle of enemies and kill them all. So it's very fun. It's very different. It's very unique. It's not a bullet hell. This is Vampire Survivors in first person, basically. And this was actually really, really, really fun. And I was surprised by it. So I recommend it if you're curious. Bloodshed. The other thing, and I'm not saying these are the best games that were available this week. And again, man, all you guys out there saying, I feel shitty, I missed out on the E3s, the classic E3s. This is that. This is, you don't know. It used to be you'd walk the floor at E3. You did not know what you were going to get. You didn't have it all absolutely ruined by the press or whatever, and you knew everything well in advance. You just walk the floor and you're like, oh, what's this? Oh, what's this? Oh, what's this? Right? That's what Steam Next Fest 4 times a year is. And I'd love to see consoles try to replicate this more, but it's excellent. But this was another one, Fear the Spotlight. The demo is out. The game comes out this week. Now,
we can't just do the Santa.
This one has me really, really interested because it is the first game coming out from Blumhouse Games. And Zack Wood, who produced for Sony Twisted Metal 2012, he runs that whole division now, right? And so this is their first game coming out. It's got, the reviews dropped today. I was surprised by how good these reviews are. 8.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Games Radar says it's a love letter to PS1 survival. And it may be all those things. But the demo that they put out was relatively underwhelming, and it wasn't bad at all, but it was like, you would think that, like, if this is sort of Blumhouse's big coming out party and it's like, dun dun dun, we've arrived, we are here to show you what the geniuses at Blumhouse can do with the same philosophy of game making that we have applied to filmmaking, you would think you would walk away from this demo and be like, oh my God, that is fucking cool. That is fucking twisted. That is fucking weird. I didn't walk away. I walked away going, yeah, I want to play it. Nothing wrong with it in the world. It was solid. It was fun. And the reviews have been good enough that it makes me go, all right, well, let me watch it and let me play it. And maybe it's got something, but I didn't love it. The other one, though, that I did love, I loved a couple of them, but this one, I don't know if you guys play Lonely Mountains Downhill, which was the biking game. It was on Game Pass for a long time. Super fucking addictive. Well, this one's out now. Well, the demo's out. I don't know when the game's coming out. I think it's soon. But it's skiing. Same gameplay, but you've got skiing, and you also have online co-ops. You can ski with friends. Oh my God. I'm telling you. You can ski with your buddies, and it is just super fun. It is super addictive, just like the mountain biking game they did. And it's one of those you want to try again and again and again and again. And the loop is very addictive, and it's very fun. And again, I don't know when the final, let's see when this thing is launching. It's coming out sooner than later. Ideally, this will be out, for when we're in the winter feeling. We're already there, we're getting there. But this was really, really good. This was really, really, really fun. Lonely Mountain Snow Riders, I do recommend. Did I see the Game Freak leaks? I don't know, JJ. Do you mean the thing that Nintendo was testing? Is that what you're talking about? Because we're going to talk about that. But anyway, let me know. We'll get to that. Okay. In fact, that's what's next. So here you go. This is coming from IGN, but it took about 2 seconds for Nintendo's mysterious Switch game to leak. Here's what they wrote. People know, they've known for a while. Hang on a sec. They've known for a while that Nintendo reached out and said, look, we have 10,000 slots. Hang on. Oh, goodness gracious. Come on now. Holy cow. We have 10,000 seats for this test we want to do. And even though people leaked the visuals of these tests today, Nintendo's pulled them back in, but we know what it is now, or we have a rough idea of what it is now. And here's the gist of it. It sounds like it says you work with other players, so it's an MMO style game, to develop a massive planet. I'm reading this directly from IGN now, guys. A massive planet via farmed resources and building on your own plot of land. Players use beacons that emit a healing light that purifies and develops the land. You place these beacons until your planetary block is fully developed. The player's beacon sounds like a protected space in which they can move, lift, or edit items. Outside the beacon is public space. There's a core hub where you can level up your character, get items, talk to other players, socialize, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of user-generated content. Listen to this. It says this is very Nintendo because you can share what you make. It says to create user-generated content, players must pass a test in-game to show they understand the, quote, importance of respectful communication. Only then will players obtain a UGC license and be able to create. There is, as you would expect, a player report feature, blah, blah, blah. It recommends playing the new game in TV setup with a wired connection, given it is a server-based experience. So, it's kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of neat for what it is. I mean, it's there's a lot of games. Here's what I'll say. Nintendo doesn't, they miss sometimes, but they rarely put stuff out in the world that isn't unique enough to justify its existence. So it's easy to read this and go, well, that sounds like Minecraft, or that sounds like Minecraft Lego. If you haven't played that, it's really fun. But I'm, for whatever it's worth, Nintendo has partnered with Minecraft in the past. There's been Mario packs and all this stuff. I don't think it's just Minecraft with Nintendo IP, although that's not the world's worst idea. But I think they've got some angle, some twist, whatever it is. I don't know. I have to imagine whether it's in the mechanics of how you create things. Maybe it's like the new Zelda, which my understanding is that was created as originally as a Zelda, maker, like Mario Maker, but it was for Zelda games. Maybe it's like that or something that's less about getting stuff to craft and, going on adventures to get echoes to craft. I have no idea, but my guess is it's going to be something more than just what it sounds like. But Nintendo being Nintendo, of course, they pulled everything from the internet today for copyright reasons and said, hey, back off, bitch. Back the fuck off. You can't see what we're working on yet. This is Willy Wonka, chocolate factory shit. So, 1 Minute Gamer says if it's a Switch only game and runs like shit, pass. Yeah, it's probably not for you though, 1 Minute Gamer. I mean, that's the thing. When nothing's wrong with it of having certain limits that you will accept, obviously boundaries. But it was amazing to me when I was tweeting over the weekend about how much I was enjoying Zelda. And, there's like 20% of the responses to that of people going, oh, I hear it runs like shit. I hear it drops frames. And it's like, yeah, it does. It doesn't run great. It definitely drops noticeably 10-20% of the time. But, okay. If you can't hang with that, that's fine. But, it doesn't hurt the game. For most people, I think it's great. But Brett Moore says I was thinking it might be for Switch too. Yeah, it's a good point. What they are testing doesn't mean it's going to launch or only be on Switch 1. But again, I think, and maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but I think you might be surprised that most people out there really don't care about some frame drops, and that if the guys over at Digital Foundry don't approve, nobody cares. If it's fun, it's fun. If it's fucking fun, it's fun. Zanark, sorry. Good God almighty, sir. He's opened up the piggy bank or smashed the piggy bank and given 5 memberships to this beautiful show. I appreciate that, sir. Avoid the Void got one. TJM got one. Chachi got one. Ad Hacker got one. And Troubled Tech got one. That means a couple things, fellas. That means you'll be able to watch for free the Brain on Games episode that just dropped on Friday. And that also means that the next members only event, you'll be able to watch Lunch with Jaffe. You can't attend it, but you can watch it, which will be going up on Thursday or Friday. And People have been telling me they want to do a pot and popcorn again, so we'll be doing that pretty soon. Let me ask you guys a question. I was thinking about pot and popcorn over the weekend. I was thinking about the thing I don't like about doing pot and popcorns is, in fact, I'm going to run a poll. Let me type it first so you guys can see. Okay, engage with your audience. Fuck you. Yeah. Okay. Pot and popcorn. But okay. So the problem with pot and popcorn has always been that it lives in one moment, right? It lives on the Discord. We show movies that we're not really allowed to show, and then afterwards they're gone, right? So if you can show up live, it's great if you enjoy such things, and I eat popcorn and I smoke pot. And it's great. But the problem with it is that it doesn't live after. It's ephemeral, right? And so it doesn't work really well to get new people excited about, hey, I want to go do that, because you don't know what it is, right? But you know what we could do is we could show gameplay, full gameplay. Like I was looking last night, it's like we could watch no commentary track, full Uncharted 1. Or we could watch the last Batman Telltale game, or one of the Until Dawn Dark Pictures anthology games like Devil Inside or whatever. Those would exist. But you could then watch them and watch our commentary of all the members on YouTube. So the question is, here it is, pot and popcorn. I just put the poll up. But with movie style games, right? So it would be like The Order 1886 might be the first one. I've never played it. It's like 5 hours long. We could watch that. So it wouldn't be a proper movie, but it would still be, Devil Inside is great, Rathizzle. But it would still be something we can hang out and watch shit, blah, blah, blah. But it wouldn't be proper motion picture shows. So the poll's up there. I'll look at it in a little bit. Yeah, Eddie T says the Chick-fil-A streaming service launches November 18th. Maybe we can watch something there. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, let's move forward, shall we? Ease on down the road, my friends. Sony said, hey, Crimson Desert, you guys know this game. This has been showing up at a number of Keeley shows over the last couple times. It looks great. I don't know if it's great, but Crimson Desert is coming out for PC and consoles, and you'll see in a second. This is the one where you can ride a balloon and you can ride different hawks and turn into monsters and big open world, and it looks like a great deal of fun. And Sony reached out to these guys, the developer in South Korea, and said, hey, we would like to make this a console exclusive. Let me get some better footage. It's just some talky talk horse shit. Come on now. We would like to make this a console exclusive. And the weird thing is, they said no, which I can't understand. I mean, unless they know something about the Switch 2, and the Switch 2 would be able to actually run this, I don't imagine that they're actually considering that Xbox would be... why would you turn down Sony money? They still could be on PC. They'll be on PS5. They couldn't run on Switch anyway. So why would you turn down Sony money in exclusivity and marketing and promotion just to be on the Xbox as well as the PS5? I mean, unless there's something we don't know, like, well, what you don't know, Jaffe, is Crimson Desert is going to be a Game Pass exclusive, and they haven't revealed that yet. Okay, that would make sense. And yeah, again, PK says multi-platform Switch 2. Yeah, Xbox means nothing to most people in development at this point. And I love Xbox. I've loved Xbox more this generation than Sony this generation. But I don't think if I was a developer, I would go, oh yeah, we have to make sure we're going to be on Xbox. So I don't really understand, frankly, why they would do that. But maybe the Switch 2, they've seen enough of the Switch 2. They know that they can be a launch title for the Switch 2 versus a kind of, back end of the life cycle of PS5. And they feel, and they're not wrong. If to be a launch title on something like Switch, I don't know if you guys were there, you were aware of it. But the when the Nintendo 64 came out, every single fucking game in that launch title, there was like 10 of them, and a lot of them weren't very good, sold over 1 million copies because people were just desperate for something to play. And so it could be that. It could be, it could just be the fact that they're like, yeah, we would, assuming the Switch 2 wasn't coming. So I could see that. Bukaki says the Switch 2 is going to be great. The difference between this gen and last isn't huge, but from PS3 to PS4 is pretty noticeable. And I think that's what the leap in specs will be like. I'm sure it will be noticeable, but again, Nintendo has never gone all in on the visuals, which I'm totally fine with. I don't, that's not why I play Nintendo. What I will say though about the Switch is I got a pair of reading glasses because I'm old, and I have been enjoying the duality of the Switch where I never have before. In the past, I was just kind of always like, I just played on a big TV. But actually now with the glasses, I'm like, oh, okay, I get why this is so cool. So I'm excited for that. Opinion is respected, but how can you possibly like Xbox more this generation, says Zack? Because I like what they're trying to do. I like the ecosystem of Xbox, the environment. I don't think the games that are exclusive to Xbox, it's certainly first party, have been as good. A few have been worthy of competing, like Forza Horizon, but most of them are nowhere near as good as what we get on PlayStation right now, first party. But I absolutely think their Game Pass stuff, the fact that I know, like I'll give you a great example. I thought my PS5 was shitting the bed recently. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking spend $700 on a Pro. Do I really want to buy a fucking new one? Well, if I had been playing Elden Ring, which is the only reason I care about having a PS5 right now, on Xbox, I could just be like, oh, okay, I'll switch to PC. Or really, if I didn't have a PC, okay, I'll switch to Game Pass Mobile, right? Their stuff travels much more frequently. But me playing a game on PS5, if that PS5 shits the bed, the save is gone. The ownership awareness is gone. And that's stuff that I've just gotten used to now with the way I game. That's something that they have brought to the table that I've really liked. But I'm not talking about I'm not talking about the quality of first party. I think there's no doubt that first party Sony wipes the floor 95% of the time with those guys. So, okay. I don't agree with that, Soul Mike. PC's the best, but you need troubleshooting skills. I've never found that to be the case. I have no troubleshooting skills. It's people have a very archaic, antiquated view of PCs where a lot of people still seem to think it's like 2003. Most PC games just work. Okay. But anyway, here's this game. So it's going to be on all the systems now. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited for it. Well, I'm excited for it as it relates to what they've shown. I don't know if it's actually going to be good or not. Okay. Yeah, Wrath Izzle says, wait, Jaffe, you just got a new PC because something was wrong with your old one, didn't you? Yes, I don't understand. What's your point? So we've got 82% of people that would be totally fine with us watching movie-style games on Pot and Popcorn. Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that in the next couple weeks. So those fresh new memberships that 5 of you guys just got from our very generous support, Zank. He's one. His name always troubles me. It doesn't trouble me. It gives me problems. Like I can't say it. Let's put it that way. You guys will be able to join us when we do that. So hopefully we'll see you there. Okay. Jaffe, which game have you been playing on GeForce Now? Says Bulbo. The last I played was Shattered Dimensions or something, and then lately I have been gaming on PS5 for Silent Hill 2, and then Switch for Zelda. Okay, let's move forward, shall we? I might go, or as the Brits say, I might do. Yeah, Metal Gear counts as a movie style game, absolutely. I might go back and try to play some Alan Wake 2 because the update that was announced is pretty significant. And here's one of the reasons I love it. I'm curious though what you guys think about this. So on the PS5, they add gyro aiming. Boy, I'll tell you, I always thought that would be a stupid fucking gimmick. But once I started using this for Days Gone, not for every gun encounter, but for a good 30-40% of the gun encounters that have aim down sights, I wouldn't do it in a multiplayer shooter. It's too frantic. So wonderful, man. So great. So they're bringing that to Alan Wake with the new update. I'm excited for that. It says haptics are currently limited to weapons. That will be extended to other items in the game. They're adding a quick turn. And again, those aren't enough to make the game. I still didn't fall in love with Alan Wake 2 the way a lot of other people did. I thought Silent Hill was infinitely better. But I might go back and at least try it with these changes and start it again and see what I think. But then they're adding the ability to flip a switch for player immortality, infinite ammo, and infinite flashlight batteries. At that point, I mean, again, I'm down with, and they're also adding a switch for player invulnerability. I mean, at that point, that's fine. If the developer's giving you that option, they clearly are okay with it. It just seems, there's something my brain hasn't quite figured out how to fully process yet when it comes to that stuff. The idea of, you can give the players so much freedom that the game goes away. And at that point, maybe they're like, yeah, but our narrative is cool enough that we're okay with that. We're doing this deal with Annapurna. They clearly want to make movies out of this. We should maybe make it more, easier to play for people. I don't know what it is. I get it. But I will agree with you in the chat. Blackjack says Alan Wake 2 was unexpectedly boring. I agree. I absolutely agree. Now that may be true, Bukaki. Bukaki says Alan Wake's a good pot and popcorn game. That might be a good one. But yeah, I found it boring in a lot of places. The pacing was really sluggish. And there was something about it where I could see it or I could feel it was too impressed with itself. And I don't know a better way to articulate it, but like the whole musical number, I got it. I got it. I appreciated it, but it didn't really feel right. It felt like, hey, Ma, look at us. We're making a video game. Like it felt like they knew it would be perceived as weird and cool and no one's done this before. And that's great as a side effect of a choice that feels organic. But it didn't feel organic to me. It just felt like, hey, let's do something really weird here. And I didn't like that. And there were a number of places in the game that really kind of pulled me out of the immersion because it was too much about, hey, look how creative we are. And that's, maybe it's the creative response that a lot of you right-wingers have to sort of the quote woke stuff. It's like, oh, I don't mind it if it's organic. I just don't like it when it feels forced. Well, this felt forced. Yeah, Eric says we got to deal with forced creativity now. Right. I mean, that's part of being, good at the craft is going, and I've been guilty of going way too far too on stuff, but you can go so far that, yeah, you get a pat on the back for being creative, but it doesn't necessarily serve the holistic, the product itself is what I would say. Spazbo's here. What's up, man? Spazbo says, I'd like to see Jaffe play Dead Space Remake live. I love that game. I love the remake. I almost finished it, and I didn't quit because it was boring or anything, or it was too hard. I just got busy with other games that came out because I'm slow. I got to the part where you're outside the space station, and there's like the tentacle monster in the distance that you have, that it's attacking you in 0G. So I think I was like on chapter 12 or something, so I was almost done with it. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was fucking great. Yeah, Bukaki says the musical part fits into the narrative, but if you don't beat the game, I guess you wouldn't know. Right. But the musical thing was one of the things that made me not want to complete the game. So, but it is what it is. Not a big deal. I mean, I'll look back at it. I'll look back, spend a little time with it. You know what? It's kind of annoying to me, but not really. I was going to complain, but I'm not going to complain. So as I got into, and I don't want to bore you with this because I know for some reason it's the biggest game in the world or one of the biggest games in the world. And yet 95% of people who watch this show and talk to me on this show seem to hate it for some weird reason. But Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is coming out this week. They're not going to have the riot shield, which when I was playing else, I don't even use it anymore. So it doesn't really bother me that they're ripping it out of Black Ops 6 because I can actually play. The stream crashed. All right, well, I don't think it crashed for me. Hit refresh. You guys are saying the stream crashed. I'm going to say hit refresh. Let's see what happens. And I'll wait. The government took the stream down. It's too anti-woke. I understand. All right, yeah. So just hit refresh. You'll be fine. Don't ask. I don't know what's going on. Blame the YouTubes. But anyway, yeah. So the riot shield is no more. But I loved the Black Ops 6 beta for the 2 weeks that it was out. Thought it was excellent, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Somebody was asking earlier about the campaign. I love Call of Duty campaigns as well, and especially the last Black Ops campaign was fantastic. And the new one, which is kind of all about the first Gulf War and all that, Project Desert Storm or whatever, I'm super fucking into that. And I love that it's coming from the guys that made Black Ops 5 or whatever it was called, because that campaign was great. Bobo says you seem to be Call of Duty in general because you got good at it. Does that mean people who are not good at the game could hate the game? Well, we're talking about two different things. If you play the campaign, you don't have to be good. I always bought Call of. Okay, let me try.